Officer, look, I'm very sorry. I came back here because I wanted to apologize and explain myself. Officer, I've been thinking about this a lot on the way over, and this might make you laugh. Some parts might piss you off. I mean, I don't know, but how you react is up to you. But this is all really hard to explain. But I trust you'll listen. I'll get somewhere with this. Okay, well, before I went to Taos, New Mexico for a 3-month retreat at an artist residency, I was there to write plays for 3 months. My father told me to take lots of pictures of the beautiful landscape. He'd regularly tell me, if you don't have a picture, you didn't have it. Now, I don't really like taking photos. I'd rather let people use their imagination, but here's Taos. Isn't it beautiful? Doesn't everything look better with an Instagram filter? This, first off, is a screenshot from my iPhone. Yep, that's what Grindr looks like. Now, if you don't know, Grindr is an app that allows gay men to see how many feet away the nearest gay male is. I'm used to people being about 180 feet away. I'm from New York. But here, the nearest gay male is back in Santa Fe. 52.7 miles away. Well, this is gonna be a lovely 3 months. All right, so when you're in the middle of nowhere without a car, because you're too young to rent one, so you have no way of getting around or escaping, you need some handy boundaries for when you're walking about. This is the Guadalajara Grill. There's one to the north and another to the south. There's really nothing interesting to see past either of these points, but if you happen to find yourself by a grill, get the fish tacos. They're amazing. You're shaking your head like no, like my recommendation means nothing to you. So good. Okay, well, this is a dog. He's been abandoned. I've named him Nuts. You can see he hasn't been neutered yet. Now, when you walk around Taos, you're bound to see several dogs, either walking alone or in small packs together. And because there's nothing else to do here, you may spend some nights following them around. Caution, do not get attached to them, even if Nuts follows you home one night. Also, do not feed Nuts canned tuna. He's not interested. This is a tree where vultures live. This is directly above where I lived for 3 months. There are several blocks of sidewalk underneath the tree that are covered in these black and white splatters of vulture feces. When I first saw it, I thought it was a Jackson Pollock mural. I was disappointed. This is a dead bird. It's starting to decompose on my front doorstep. Kind of gross. So one afternoon I heard the single knock at the front door, and I was so excited. I thought someone wanted to come say hello. Nope. This bird had just flown to its death. And this is the inside of my casita, where I spend mostly all of my time alone. You know, by the 3rd week, I've gotten really bored with myself, and I spend a lot of time sitting on the floor, because the ceilings are very low, and I'm too tall to stand up straight. So I sit on the floor and eat leftover tuna out of a can, and I listen to Prince's entire discography. But this is not what I imagine the life of an artist to be. And what isolates me even more, of the 10 artists who are here, I'm the only guy, and the only one under the age of 50. Now, I have nothing against women in their 50s. I think they're great, but when I hang out with them, they all talk to me like I'm their son, not their equal. Or they talk at length about the ginkgo biloba and chlorophyll supplements they're all now taking together. This is an experiment. I do spend a lot of time talking to another woman who's in her 50s, my mother. I call my mom a lot. Well, if you're having a rough time out there, maybe you could find a church to go to. This is not the time to tell my mother that I'm an atheist. Mom, it's kind of like a weird conflict. Like, I came here to write. I'm here to write plays. You know, I thought I would wake up in the morning, feel completely refreshed by the desert. I'd see like tumbleweeds and sage bushes and think, this is inspiring. But it's not happening like that. Like, everything I see depresses me. Dead birds, abandoned dogs, vulture shit, all over the place. Like, I don't want to go outside outside, but I don't want to stay inside. I'm tired of eating, but I don't want to starve. I'm drinking so much it's not fun anymore. And like, I don't want to write either because the play I'm working on is about AIDS, and it's really starting to scare me, but I have to be productive. Work on my thesis for my MFA. And like, I'm glad to have a break from classes in grad school, but I need structure. I need something stimulating. I need something that's not me 24/7. Mom, I've even jerked off so much that is boring. And the whole time I'm saying this, there's an echo on the line. So everything I say comes back to me and sounds far more pitiful than I ever intended. Ew, my mother says. Okay, that's bad. How about you take the camera Dad and I got you? And you know, you could go to some restaurants and take a picture of some food. You know, if you ask nicely, maybe you could get some recipes together. You can make a cookbook. Make a cookbook? Yeah, or something. You know, like a fun little project to work on. Mom, that's a really great solution for a different problem. Like, I've thought about leaving, but so many people apply to have 3 months to write. And so many people don't get that opportunity. You know, like, I've never felt this before. I've never felt something that I can't convey in words. Like, I can't leave. Thanks for letting me vent. Bye. And when I hang up on my mother, I realize that very few people will understand what this is like. Dear self, stop complaining. So I resolved to spend the remainder of my 3 months making do, with kamikaze birds being the only guests who knock on my door. You know, I thought I'd be absolutely thrilled to be here, but this is how I feel. The next afternoon, I have had enough of this artist life. I'm at a coffee shop, and I'm Googling cheapest ways to escape Taos, while a middle-aged punky lesbian is making a mango smoothie. It's about $1,000 to fly out of here anytime soon, but there's always a $200 Greyhound. But am I seriously considering taking 2 suitcases across the desert on a 2-day bus ride with 2 transfers, one in St. Louis, the other in Philadelphia, from Albuquerque back to Port Authority? Am I really considering that? Maybe. Well, the woman sets down the drink in front of me. She says, cheer up. Here's the best mango smoothie in all of Taos. And she smiles. And it's the friendliest anyone has been to me here in town. And suddenly I feel a connection to this woman. Have we met before? Suddenly some kid outside starts screaming in this horrifyingly primal way. And I look out at this child and I'm like, well, there's my spirit animal. The father is yelling at his son. You are not going to behave like this! Which only ignites more fury in the boy. The father and son continue yelling back and forth at each other until the father picks up his son by his t-shirt and carries him out of the Taos Plaza like a gym bag. The barista is frothing milk as we both watch the scene unfold. He's screwed. The parents are screwed, and the young boy is screwed. He's crying. He's sad about something. Let him cry. You tell him, I will speak to you when you learn to speak in a proper voice. That is what you say. You do not yell. So what instead that father did was teach a 3-year-old that it's okay to scream his head off and that's okay. You know what he's going to grow up to be? Listen, he is going to be a mass murderer. And they were a lovely family. Now this woman, she keeps talking about the best ways of raising children. And my mind nags me. I have met this woman before. The more I think, the more I feel like she was part of my childhood. I hear her voice, and I can feel the texture of a pilled fabric sofa that I would sit on as a kid as I watched TV. Was this woman on TV? What show was it? Hello, do you have a name? Oh, sorry, hi, I'm Dan. How's your smoothie, Dan? That's good. And then she winks at me. Oh my God, and it's that wink! And when I was 7, I taped the show that she was on, and I would rewind her wink and watch it again and again. Because it just looked so sassy. And I got trouble too because I taped over the final episode of Dynasty. My mother was livid. Yes. Someone felt some loss with that. So my mother was screaming at me, but later I would sit in my room and memorize the infomercial I finally had on tape. Ah! Stop the insanity! The words jump back to the present from the 1990s. She lost 133 pounds. But she didn't go from being a fat person to a thin person. That's not what happened. She went from being an unfit person to a fit person. And so can you! Oh my God. Is that Susan Powder? Are you the lady who talks to fat people, but you don't talk to fat people? You really don't? You speak to anybody who can't walk up a flight of stairs without sucking wind? 2 stairs kills you, doesn't matter if you're a size 2. You are Susan Powder, right? Oh my God! And she looks at me with a bit of shock, because I'm quoting her infomercial to her. The infomercial that made her millions of dollars, but somehow she's now in a coffee shop? Well, she laughs, thank God, and then she winks at me again. What are you doing in New Mexico? Like, I want to ask you all the questions, like who, what, where, when, why, and how? Like, you were on TV all the time, and then you just, like, disappeared. First off, set the record straight. I did not disappear, for obvious reasons, okay? No, I fired everybody. And I moved to an island off the coast of Seattle because I was tired of having lawyers around me 24/7. I'm a big moneymaker, did you hear that? But I am back, baby, because I am enraged. I am volcanic. That's why I decided to come back to work. Dan, let me ask you a question. Oh my God, guys, Susan Powder is talking to me in real life. Now, I don't say this to everyone because it'd be bad for business, and I love the people I work for. And I only tell you this because you're smart. You look smart. You are smart, right? That's good. Have you ever juiced a carrot? I'm serious, have you ever juiced a carrot? Let's say you juice a carrot. Let's say you juice 30 carrots. Now you cannot physically eat 30 carrots, but you can juice them. Now when you juice those carrots, you're getting all sorts of vitamins and nutrients, but you're also getting a lot of other things in your glass. Do you know how many pesticides are on 30 carrots? The same thing goes for mangoes. Oh, stop making that face. You'll be fine. Now, I try to tell people these things, but they immediately put their hand up like, no, because they don't want to hear it. They say to me, Susan, I am perfectly fine living my life the way that I want to live it. And that is fine. If you want to lay down for the man every single day of your life, because he will leave you without anything. Money, health, nothing. But what do you have if you don't have your health? Customers are walking into the shop, and then Susan assumes her barista position. Intentional and conscious, Dan. The 2 words for a decent life. I can't believe you don't know this, but believe me, you can be smart and still not know things. You have Netflix on that computer, right? Look up Food Inc. You'll love it, you'll watch it, consider it a class. Watch it right now. It's the politics of stupid, 101. Welcome, what can I get you? An hour and a half later, I storm out of the coffee shop, wondering, what is happening in the world? And I immediately call my mother. When she picks up, she doesn't say hello. Instead, she greets me with, so, when are you leaving? Oh no, Mom, I am not leaving now. Mom, do you remember infomercials? Well, there was this one where this woman would scream, stop the insanity. Her name was Susan Powder. She was this motivational speaker. She had this platinum blonde, flat top haircut, eyes like little slits. People are nodding, I understand. But she was like super aggressive when she talked. And she had this weight loss infomercial, and she'd say stuff like, eat potatoes, don't eat steak, just eat 7 potatoes. Yeah, she was on really late at night, right? Oh gosh golly, she was annoying. I just met her at a coffee shop, Mom. Oh, that's interesting. What's she doing in town? She's working at the coffee shop. Like I don't know what happened. Something about lawyers, Seattle, but like that's not the point. Mom, I gave her my phone number, and I got her email address, and we're gonna hang out. I'm gonna hang out with Susan Powder. And she's gonna teach me about how scary the food industry is. She has so many stories, Mom. She said to me as I left, I have stories like you wouldn't believe. I believe it. Daniel, is this a good decision? I mean, are you sure you want to know all that stuff? I took a class once where we read The Jungle. And there's a part about the workers getting ground up along with the beef. And honey, it just took me a while to eat meat again. Yeah, like, isn't that exciting? I mean, that's gross, but Mom, like, I've never considered what to eat or where my food comes from. I feel like I'm learning how to eat. Baby, you already know how to eat. Do you need me to send you some recipes? No, that's not what I mean. I'm calling because I'm excited about something. Like, I feel like I have a friend here. Walking down to the Guadalajara Grill, Taos has this whole new shimmer to it. Like, even the abandoned dogs are beautiful. How they all appear to just trot with a purpose. And I'm walking with a purpose now too, no longer aimless and bored. So at the Guadalajara Grill, I place an order for 3 fish tacos with pico de gallo and sour cream, a side order of rice and pinto beans, and a cold fresca, sold in a glass bottle. And on a rack beside the counter is a stack of newspapers. And I see one headline: "Oil continues to spill into Gulf." This was in 2010. An oil rig had exploded and killed 11 people. And now millions of barrels of oil are gushing into the Gulf of Mexico. The oil is still flowing. Efforts are being made to cap the spill, but it may take weeks to do so, and cleanup will take much longer. And as I read this, I think back to 3rd grade when my family lived in Key West, Florida. Our house backed up to the Gulf of Mexico. My science teacher, Mrs. Setchell, taught us about the oceans. How there may be many of them, but it's all really one ocean. So if more oil flows into the Gulf, it may flow into the Atlantic and beyond. So what's going to happen to sea life, or estuaries, the fishing industry? Like, all of this could be contaminated or destroyed. And in my mind, I see images of manatees and pelicans covered in oil, dolphins who have to swim through oil to reach the surface for air. You know, I don't know if anyone knows right now how far or wide this spill is going to go. So the server brings me my fish tacos, and I think about Food Inc. I think about the oil spill. This will be my last meal with meat. And I eat slow and enjoy every bite. But when I finish, I see others eating around me, and each bite brings them closer and closer to this spill that is slowly seeping its way into our dinners. I said stop the insanity over 150 years ago, but which insanity would you like to talk about? This is a week later. Susan Powder is recording herself talking to her computer. I sit across from her, and between us is a 1 terabyte external hard drive. Let the friendship begin. You wanted to talk about food? Let's talk about food. Now, there are 2 types of people in this world. There are the people who are going to hear what I have to say and only hear a bunch of words. And then there are those people who are going to listen to what I have to say and truly get it. If you are living in a human body, the human body needs food. I don't know of a single human body that doesn't. But these days, you have to go about your day as if you are preparing for war. There's bovine growth hormone, antibiotics, food is picked from trees and ripened with gas. It is a holocaust of apples, people. It's true. It's true. So if you are eating anything but organic, you might as well just lay down and die. You want to know the 5 rules of food? First rule of food: if it glows in the dark, we don't eat it. If it's fluorescent, I suggest you get rid of it. Number 2, if I go to the grocery store and I go to buy tomato sauce, and I don't see the word tomato anywhere on that ingredient list, I'm not putting that in my body. Now, Susan never finishes the 5 rules of food. She leaves me hanging at number 2. But she speaks with such enthusiasm that I can't help but stay on for the ride. And not only does she know everything about food and nutrition, but she becomes this encyclopedia of feminist thought. She starts mixing in quotes from everyone, ranging from Emma Goldman to Gertrude Stein to Audre Lorde to... Wait, did she just quote Paris Hilton? What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is, and what do I mean by anything? Grains, beans, fruits, vegetables, 80% of your diet should consist of these whole, real, organic foods. Why can I get you? The coffee shop is still open. She fascinates me to no end. Like I want to talk with her, you know, like a friend. And after we talk, I hope that maybe she'll invite me to her house to cook, or maybe she could teach me to do some yoga. We could make a cookbook. Like I want to bring up all these ideas ideas, but she never pauses. Have a good night, where were we? And then the lecture continues, on and on and on and on. And at some point, I can't tell if I'm starting to get tired or if Susan is actually beginning to speak nonsense. Because I swear I hear her say something like, why aren't my eyes ever blended? Hi-fi, lo-fi, squirrel brisket. I know, it's totally indie from the 90s. Don't you get it? Yeah. I get everything. Because even when she says things that are absolutely absurd, it all sounds inspiring. Like, I don't know how much time passes, but she finishes her lecture because the 1 terabyte hard drive is full. And I'm exhausted from sitting there, my brain full from this boot camp. So I get up from my seat, and she hugs me goodbye. And it's this nice, warm embrace. She comes up to here. I haven't hugged anyone in months. See you later, Dan. And as I walk back to the artist colony, bits of the conversation begin to click in my head. Find out what foods make you feel great. Be careful eating stuff that comes from a factory. Don't be a human sacrifice to Nabisco. So my pantry features cereal and frozen waffles, microwavable dinners, a case of Santa Fe Pale Ale, and it finally makes sense. The most political thing that I can do is control what I put in my body. So I grab a pack of stale glazed donuts, and I walk outside. And with a donut in my grip, I wind up like an Olympian and chuck it into the desert. I don't need that shit anymore! I'm gonna be healthy! And suddenly 2 dogs start running. They're competing with each other to see who can gobble up the donuts the fastest. And they're barking and they're playing under the moonlight. And there are some things I might miss about New Mexico. So I fly back to New York for my final year of graduate school. And in the mornings, I walk to class, and I listen to Susan Powter podcasts. As I admire the gentlemen who are now within reach, the eye candy of Lower Manhattan. As I strut along 9th Street with a canvas bag filled with grains, beans, fruits, and vegetables. So during the middle of class, we take a break for lunch. The other playwrights, they go to pick up fast food. And it's not that I judge them. Okay, maybe I do. But like I feel bad when I see them eat food that doesn't make them glow. You know, this one guy, he comes back and he eats sesame chicken over fried rice with an egg roll, washes it down with a 20-ounce soda, and 20 minutes later he's like, ugh, why am I always tired after lunch? I hate this. It's a fair question. And now that I know the science behind it, I don't want to get too detailed with them. So I say, you're having a sugar crash. You can prevent that by eating some lighter things, like fruits, vegetables, quinoa. You know, ever since I became a vegetarian, and without any specific prompting, I start to talk about the greatness of how I eat. How much better I feel when I eat celery, hummus, field greens and tomatoes, Brussels sprouts roasted with olive oil, salt and pepper, a little bit of cayenne, turmeric. Yeah, I don't know if your face is you love this or you hate it, but whatever you do, cut them in half. Olive oil on top, spices, 375 degrees, 20 or 30 minutes. It is absolutely divine. Well, our instructor interrupts my litany of delicious dishes and recipes, and he says, just don't turn into some vegan. Like, I don't know if it's a lack of protein, but not a single vegan I know has a sense of humor. And everyone lets out this big guffaw. And then class continues with yet another discussion of Oedipus Rex. For the 7th time in 3 years, I'm seething. Like, was that a joke that only entertains stupid people? Have they never heard of beans? Tofu? Tempeh? Like, I want to snap twirl in all their faces. Ain't nobody gonna talk to an herbivore like that. But whatever, let's talk about Oedipus. We all know the Oedipus story by now. He had no idea that what he was doing would somehow come back and bite him in the ass, but guess what? He should have listened to the oracles! There's Greek tragedy for you! Full stop, period, the end, moving on. So I throw down my spoon into my empty BPA-free can of organic black bean soup. It was delicious, thank you. And I say, I don't know why we still have to keep reading Oedipus. You all already know how to act like motherfuckers. And for the first time in 3 years, all eyes are on me. And after the words fly out of my mouth, I realize I have to spend the next 30 weeks with these people. I'm sorry! But that was completely out of line. I'm sorry. Let's talk about tragedy. So when class ends, one of the playwrights pulls me aside. What's going on? Like, you are so serious now. You used to eat burgers and pizza all the time. And now you're carrying around containers of salad and cartons of soy milk and like whatever else you have in that Mary Poppins canvas bag of vegetarianism. Like, it's weird. Like, I get it. You're all excited about new foods. Congratulations. But it kind of worries me. Like, you meet this one health guru in the desert, and you completely change your life? Like, Dan, it makes me think you'd be susceptible to, like, Scientology. Excuse me? First off, set the record straight. Eating healthy is no way comparable to being a Scientologist. Word choice, playwright. Okay, but it's weird. Like, it's just weird walking down the street with you. And all of a sudden, I'll turn to say something, and you're gnawing on sheets of seaweed. You look like a hipster otter shoving sea vegetables into your beard. Like, Dan, look, like, we were all talking. We missed the old Dan. Like, he was fun. He'd do shots of Jameson and say some funny things. Look, we're gonna go meet up tonight, have some drinks. You should come. Loosen up. I can't. I'm meeting up with a guy tonight, so. I mean, why should I be the one to change? You know, this reminds me of something that Susan said this morning on the podcast. Other people won't appreciate the goals you make for yourself because they want you to stay the same. And as I build up strength and develop good habits, I'm fortifying myself. And I'm not going to compromise that for anyone. But later that night, I see this guy. And for once, I think he looks much better than his Grindr photo. Ooh, he's got arms for days, like they're stunningly attractive. He's got that little tricep indent going on. Ooh, but those the type of arms that you also think, those could put me in the hospital if they want to. What's up, can I get you a drink? And he grins at me, and I'm like, I'm trying not to drink, but he has such a smooth voice. And yeah, I want to get to know this guy. Jameson on the rocks! So the music is blaring, and it is far too difficult to talk to him in this setting. But soon, it doesn't matter, because we are dancing. And I am sipping more Irish whiskey because I love it so. And he's got one hand snapping a rhythm, and another hand pulling me closer. And I feel his fingers on the small of my back. And I think, oh, I'm usually not into being the submissive one, but bro, you made the first move. And I'm very curious to see where this one goes. 2 Jamesons later, it is hitting me harder than it's hit me before. We are making out on the dance floor. Sheila E. starts to play from the sound system.
Oh boy.
Yes, and I'll twirl around. Like I ain't never twirled before because I do love me some Sheila. He pulls me in closer and says, the moon up above shines down upon her skin. And he whispers those lyrics into my ear. And he's got this breathy grunt. And somehow I hear every nuance of his voice, and I feel every nuance of his hips, and he seduces me into slow dancing to a fast song. And it is that juxtaposition that makes me swoon. Damn, baby, you better than fish tacos. Before I know it, we are stripping each other's clothes off back in his apartment on Avenue A. We cram ourselves into a bedroom way too small for our tall bodies. And I see his twin bed, and I wonder, how does he fit in this? And he shoves me down on the bed, and I think, whoa, this is happening. Ankles go places like they got secrets to tell me. He's got this nice chest and he is pumping away and I'm like, yes baby, this is happening. Go, 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 go. And this one moment comes when he kisses me on the lips and our beards rub together. Neither one of us can take it anymore. So he pushes off of me and goes into the bathroom while I recover, catch my breath. I go into the bathroom after him and sit down. Why did I let him? And so I go back to his room and he's got the light off and he's curled up in his bed. And I try to lie next to him and he says, my bed's really small. I mean, you can stay if you want. And I do. So he falls asleep and I'm awake for a few hours and I watch 1 o'clock turn into 3 and 4 and I try to fall asleep too. Morning comes and I thought this morning I would wake up in his arms. But he's curled into a ball on one side and I see that he has his underwear on and I'm still naked and I find my boxer briefs and I put them on as I watch him in his flannel sheet bed, holding a pillow like I wanted to hold on to me. And I see that he's drooled a little bit on that pillow, and I wish I had woken up with some drool on my neck. But I have on my underwear, my pants, and I stretch into my shirt, and I stand on one leg to put on each sock. And I watch him. I watch him as he sleeps, and I watch him as I do this. And then I put my shoes on, and I sneak out, and I slip into a diner on 7th and A. I tie my laces as I look at the menu. The sunrise on a Saturday morning, slowly shining inside. And I sit at the counter by myself, and I make a list of all the things that I can't eat. Bacon, sausage, and I'm trying to be vegan, so I can't have eggs. The pancakes probably have some kind of dairy in them. The waitress, she looks at me expectantly. So I ask, do you all have anything that's vegan? We got juice. Coffee. Toast. No butter, right? You want jelly? Ooh, Mr. Fancy. All right, coming right up. So luckily, it's too early for couples to be brunching together. It's probably best that this guy's not here right now because this would just be... Anyway. So the waitress, she comes back with my order, and I made sure we didn't put the bacon fat on your toast. Enjoy, kiddo. So I bite into the toast. And even with jelly, it's impossibly dry to eat. So I sip the coffee, and it's bitter because it's been on the burner for too long. And that juice is Sunny Delight. So I drink water on this Saturday morning as the sun shines into the diner. A month later, I'm in the emergency room at Beth Israel, and I don't know what's going on. Like, I've got needles in my arms, I'd slept for 3 days, I don't know the last time I had a meal. I can barely speak because my tonsils have swollen so much that they hug. My face is white as cauliflower, and I don't feel pretty. It'd been an illness that gradually got worse, and I looked up all the ways that I could feel better naturally. Like wheatgrass juice, onion juice, garlic soup. All of this has done nothing except stink up my apartment. And I don't even understand why this is happening. Like, I've been eating so healthy recently. I'm a full-fledged vegan now. Why am I not in pristine health? But here I am in the hospital where they tell me, you're very sick. Like, we don't know what's wrong with you. But we have a few questions and some tests. And I'm unable to swallow my own saliva, so I have to nod my head to answer. Have you slept with anyone recently? Did you sleep with a guy, or did you or he wear condoms? Did you give or receive a choke out? We should do an HIV test. You might be seroconverting because you have symptoms very similar to the early stages of infection. So you also need some food because you say you haven't eaten in 3 days. And she vanishes behind the curtain. And I'm alone in this curtain cell. Oh my God. What if I have HIV? And like, this is going to limit my future in so many ways. And And while the nurse is gone, I pull out my phone and I think of calling my mother, but this is also something that I feel like I can't talk to her about. I'm afraid to tell her that I'm an atheist, but I'm also scared to tell her that I'm a sexually active gay man. Like, she knows I'm sick, like I let her know that, but I didn't let her know why, and like I don't know why either yet. But I pull out my phone and I start to research natural treatments for HIV. So the nurse returns with a swab and I scratch up the inside of my mouth as she sets down food in front of me, and then she takes that mouth swab and leaves. Like, what, you're leaving? Like, I've had a few HIV tests done in my life, and usually I get to sit with a very nice person who asks me questions like, will you kill yourself if you find out you're positive? Not today! And then I look down at the cellophane wrapped sandwiches that she left, and there's chicken salad on wheat bread and egg salad on white. And I sip on the apple juice that she left, and I think about all the things I've heard about plastics. Like how they might leak chemicals onto the food, how they might cause cancer. You know, and now that I'm vegan, I can't eat any of this, like even if I could swallow. And I want to ask if someone would please go down the street to this smoothie place and get me a spinach and kale drink with some goji berries. But no, I get to sit here with this food that doesn't heal, and my worrying brain. There were some painkillers in the IV, so it's easier to swallow the apple juice, but I'm only taking small sips. Because, like, I don't know if this is fresh. Like, I don't know if this is not from concentrate. It might have some added sugars in it. And I dwell on the origins of the juice to distract myself from the fact that I might have HIV. The nurse comes back. Why haven't you eaten anything? Do you need me to stand here and watch you while you eat? And I look at the nurse, and I look at the sandwiches. I'm afraid. Like, I don't know how this food is going to make me feel. Like, I don't want to risk getting sicker. So I open the chicken salad sandwich and I pick at the wheat bread. And she looks at me as I take these tiny bites. Your test came back negative. But you might have mono. The kissing disease? I thought only 10th graders got that. And you have to take it easy for the next 2 weeks. And honey, you're still infectious. So you really can't kiss anyone for up to a year. A year? What? Like, I am a 24-year-old gay man living in New York City's East Village. The gayborhood. And now I can't even kiss anyone? So officer, just to recap, I was so lonely living in the desert for 3 months, and the only person I had to talk to was a 1990s infomercial personality. Then I come back to New York, and I felt alienated by the people that I used to hang out with, and now the people that I want to hang out with and kiss on the mouth are completely off limits to me. I wonder what's up next. Well, the nurse says, well, I guess you have an excuse to go home and watch Netflix. Just be sure to eat something when you get home. Here, take the sandwich. So once I'm outside, I throw away that toxic crap, and I walk home. I text my mother. Next 2 weeks off, I have mono. Oh no, baby! Triple exclamation point. Do you need anything? I'll put $sign in your bank account. Thanks, Mom. A little while later, she texts, I'm on Google. Lots of ways to get mono. Maybe someone sneezed? NYC is a big C. Nope, I'm pretty sure I got that from making out with a guy, Mom. Radio silence for several blocks. I'm walking up 4 flights of stairs to my apartment when she finally texts back. It's always fun to make memories. And I immediately start watching Netflix. The first thing I watch is a documentary about food, of course. And in the opening credits, it proclaims, let thy food be thy medicine. And I learned that if people would just stop eating meat and dairy and sugar, they will be healed of all of their ailments. There's this doctor. Okay, so he may not be an MD, but he has a PhD. And he says that we can heal people with the right doses of vitamins. Yeah, vitamins. Like he's healed people with all kinds of ailments. Alzheimer's, cancer, debilitating depression. But then some MD stepped in, as the medicine boys will do, and he said all those vitamins might be dangerous. But what does he know? And this documentary, it made me so mad. And then I watched this other documentary about how we import our fruits and vegetables from all over the world. Did you know that when the food arrives here, it's already begun to rot? Ew! But wait, have you heard the dangers of cooking your food? Yes, heat makes food develop carcinogens. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't want to eat plates of cancer. I don't want to eat rotting food. So I sit on my couch with swollen tonsils, and I resolve, when I can eat again, I will eat fresh local things, only. So I exhaust the supply of food documentaries and graduate to the ones about the entire world. Like, what's happening to the ozone? What's happening to the endangered species? I watch another documentary about the environment and how our food supply affects it. And I learn about these things called monocultures. There are these giant fields where only one crop grows. Giant fields of wheat or corn or soybeans, all covered in pesticides. And the crops, they aren't being rotated, so the nutrients in the soil are getting depleted. And without healthy topsoil, well, just wait till the monoculture brings the Dust Bowl back to America, guys. And then I started watching stuff about corporations, chemtrails, the Illuminati, the reptilian elite lizard people. And I realized, okay, maybe I should take a break from Netflix. So I go to YouTube instead, where I find about something even scarier. It starts with the letter M. No, it's not Monsanto. But yes. Mathematics. I love math. I'm like a big numbers freak. But I saw this video on YouTube called The Most Important Video You Will Ever See. Parts 1 through 8. Better believe me, I watched all 8 parts of that. Stay with me. Okay, so the video talked about doubling time. So whenever you find a rate of growth, and you want to know how long it'll take for that to double, not the rate of growth, but the amount there, divide 70% by that growth rate. Okay, so here's a little word problem. Let's say you have $1,000 invested, and it returns 7% each year. 70% divided by 7% is? 10! Yeah! So what does that mean? It means in 10 years, you'll have twice the amount that you put in. You'll have $2,000 invested. And in another 10 years, $4,000. And so forth exponentially. Kind of exciting when you think of money. But let's apply this to something else. Let's say that oil consumption is also rising at an annual rate of 7%. What does that mean? Well, it means in 10 years, we'll be using twice the amount of oil that we're using right now. Now, luckily, oil consumption is not rising at a rate of 7%, but it is rising. So it's really just a matter of time. And oil, it's like in nearly everything. Plastics, gas, electricity. It's used to make pesticides. If we don't have oil, we're screwed. And since oil isn't renewable, our oil reserves continue to dwindle. Well, at the same time, our world population is rising. Our world population is rising at a rate that will leave us with 14 billion people in 60 years. 14 billion in 60 years. Oil's probably going to run out before then. And that's if global warming doesn't kill us all off first, but, regardless, we need more energy and food to take care of every single one of us. So, should we all just die and stop using our resources? No! No, that's crazy, no! But the math... I slammed shut my computer. It was under a nurse's orders that I watch Netflix. 2 weeks of watching stuff on the internet was not a vacation for me. I don't know what other people watch on the internet, but I try to keep it educational. And this is all scaring me so much that I want to find religion. Heaven. is infinitely huge, and it doesn't need oil. But I'm not going to start reading fairy tales as fact, so how do we live in this world? Like, all this makes me want to live off the land, but how am I going to feed myself until the harvest comes? And like, what do I even mean by harvest? I've never had a garden. The only plant I ever had, I killed. It's a fucking cactus. Like, Netflix used to describe things I liked as deadpan TV comedies or quirky independent movies. Like, I've tried forgetting about all of this, but I've watched so many that now Netflix only recommends more topical traumas and doomsday documentaries.
Oh, God.
When I go back to class after I recover, I feel like a zombie. Our planet wants to shake us off of it. And I'm not much help to my classmates either. If ever my mind wanders while we read one of their plays, I start thinking about how big the universe is. And how tiny and fragile our little world is. And then I start to get vertigo and I freak out in this classroom that doesn't have any windows in it. And then when I do pay attention, I think things like, why is your play set in New York City? Are you trying to write a history play? It's going to be underwater in 20 years. Like, I can't get out of this way of thinking. But my classmates, they're very generous. They ask me like, what's going on with you? And I'm like, I just can't anymore. Well, to cheer me up, they all offer to go to a vegan restaurant with me. And they show me how much they're enjoying themselves as they eat grilled marinated tofu and tempeh Reubens. Afterwards, Mr. Sugar Crash, he pulls me aside and he says, yeah man, you were right. I feel a lot better now, thanks. And this is all really sweet, but I still feel like I'm not doing enough. Like, I can always eat cleaner. So spring break finally arrives, and I decide to make my final transformation. Raw foods only. So I finish off a mason jar of homemade soy milk, and I toss out my grains. Only raw fruits and vegetables from here on out, my final transformation. So I make a grocery list: strawberries, unroasted sunflower seeds, grapes, bananas, anything else I can find. So I pop in my earbuds and I cue up a Susan Powter podcast. And in the latest one, Susan is scolding the New York Times. They published this article about a possible fat gene. You would not believe the New York Times. A fat gene? There is nothing genetic. Let me read, I quote. The subjects of a study about weight loss were put on a strict diet of 550 calories per day. This is not genetics. This is called starvation, people. What ethical doctor doesn't know this? Of course these people aren't going to lose weight. Their body just wants to survive. But these poor people are having their metabolisms completely destroyed. And Susan continues on and on for like a full half hour, ripping apart the article sentence by sentence and countering every argument that it makes and peppering in that E word, ethical. Whatever. The New York Times is irresponsible, it's full of shit. Anyone who believes that there's a fat gene is an idiot. I encourage everyone listening, please, please people, do me a favor. Write this sorry woman writer and let her know the truth. So I walk and listen, and I think Susan's very thorough with this. This sounds like some seriously bad journalism. So I look up the author's email address on Google, and I send her a message with a link to the podcast. This might be worth a listen. Yeah, I did it. So I've gone 2 days with this raw diet so far, and I'm at the detox stage of it. And I went cold turkey on coffee, because like even hot water is forbidden. But like I'm gonna get through this, and I'm gonna start to feel incredible. So I reach the Whole Foods, and I decide my first meal is gonna be seedless grapes and strawberries. Okay, so once they're in my basket, I think, whoa, wait, like, this is just a single meal. And this is gonna cost me about $10. Vegetables are a little bit cheaper, but like, how am I gonna feel full with this stuff? But then I remember there's this one raw foodist blog I read. There's this guy, he eats 15 bananas a day. So, all right, what's this gonna cost me? So I weigh them. $7.26 for 15 bananas per day for the rest of my life. I don't have that kind of money. Like, I'm not gonna spend $7.26 per day for 15 bananas. That's crazy. Who the hell has money to be a raw foodist? And I find out that I'm not just thinking this. I'm starting to say it out loud. in the produce department. Excuse me? Who's able to afford any of this? Like, I have thought about getting a Costco membership, but I don't want industrial fruit, and while it'd be good exercise, I don't want to carry home 15 bananas every day. Plus strawberries, and grapes, and mangoes, and kiwi, and seeds, and like, is it even possible to be a raw foodist in this world? I was told I could be anything I wanted to be. And I can't even be a raw foodist? Oh, and this people, this food, just by sitting here, it has already begun to rot. Did you know that? And what about, like, these bananas are not local. They don't come from New York. Like, how are we going to get food when the bee colonies all collapse? Pesticides, they're killing off everything. What about the topsoil? What about when the nutrients are all gone? What about the end of oil? Bananas can't come to the mainland from Hawaii. Huh? Maybe we should all just move to Hawaii. But it's expensive there. And the mail is really slow. But at least we'd have all the bananas all the time. But nope, not gonna happen, because now all we have left to do is starve and die, or we can spend $30 a day on fucking fresh fruit. This is the only way to be healthy, people. I looked it up. Like, I want to be an enlightened eater, but I don't have $11,000 a year to spend on goddamn bananas. Like, what do you think I am, Whole Foods? What do you think I am, America? What do you think I am, a goddamn banana rack? The only people who pay for enlightenment are Scientologists. And I am not. I repeat, I am not a Scientologist. And my phone buzzes in my pocket. What fresh hell is this? It's an email from the writer of the Times. Thanks for getting in touch, but given the title of the podcast, I think I'll pass. Okay, so I know the title of the podcast was Fuck You, New York Times. But like, she doesn't want to hear a critique? Well, fine! And as I say that, I watch the bananas that were once in my hand leave my hand and sail over the produce department like a discus. My hand, it clenches shut trying to grab them back, but it is frustrating because they are flying. They are flying high, and they are going faster, and I pray, please, please bananas, land in someone's basket. Nope, they hit the meat department case and tumble onto the floor. These two guys who are working look at me. One guy, dude, what the hell? His buddy walks over to a phone and begins dialing. I think we have a homeless guy throwing stuff. So I rush over to the bananas, now battered and bruised, and I scramble to the front of the store to check out, and I'm with the cashier, and she's checking me out, and I see over my shoulder the guy from the meat department. He's running after me, and he's shouting, "Hey, buddy!" And I'm the cashier, she's like weighing my 15 bananas, and I look at my wallet, and I don't have any cash, so I don't want to answer this Mr. Meat guy, so I just grab a sack of grapes, and I slam down my debit card, and I say, "Here, just charge me." And I sprint out of the store holding the grapes like a football, and I run as fast as I can. I reach 3rd Avenue, and I stop because my hamstrings are killing me. And I'm hungry, so I just like start eating my grapes. Like, I can't go back there. I mean, luckily there's another Whole Foods. But I left my card there. It has my name on it. Damn. Well, I could just call my bank and cancel it. So I look at my phone, and my rage boils over again. Like, it's the writer of the Times. Like, no one gets away with being wrong. So I shove more grapes in my mouth as I think through ways to annihilate her. I will be vindicated. So I start reading her article. Yep. Just like Susan said. But then, that's funny. At the bottom of the page, there's a link. Several of them. Susan didn't say this article had 7 more pages to it. That's a strange omission. But she did read this, right? Did she not read this? She didn't even read this.
Like, if she's wrong about this, like, what else might she be wrong about? What am I wrong about? I might be wrong about everything. No, like I can't be wrong. I wouldn't be wrong about this. Like, this came from the earth. This is true. Okay, what? You know what? Am I wrong? Let me go about everything.
Oh,
I'm wrong.
oh God.
What have I done? What have I been doing? And I see my reflection in a storefront, and I think, oh my God, that's me. That's me spitting out grapes onto the sidewalk of 3rd Avenue. My beard is bushier than it's ever been, and my hair is growing up, and the way it's starting to thin doesn't look appealing at all. And I look at myself, and I look at myself, and I look. Wow. All that led to this. And this is what I've turned into. So I walked home, and I buzzed my head, and I trimmed my beard, and I put on a clean shirt. That's why I look different. Because I wanted to look sane when I came back to this Whole Foods. Officer, like I said, it's really difficult to explain. Like, it's a culmination of a lot of things. Like, what I did was wrong. Like, I shouldn't have run out of here with a sack of grapes. And you might be sitting in judgment right now. You might be thinking that I am just ridiculous, and in telling you this, I'm thinking like, oh, I don't know, maybe I need to get help. But I snapped. Like, there's so much that's terrifying happening in the world right now, and how are we supposed to deal with it? But I promise, no more Netflix. No more podcasts. Like, I wrote back to the writer at the Times and I said, I am so sorry. I am embarrassed. I stopped thinking. And I feel betrayed. Like, all of this seems so true, and some of it might still be true, and like, I don't know what's true anymore, and I don't know how to act. But like, I don't have a record. I'm not dangerous. I will be better behaved. And just, please, give me a warning. We don't need to press charges. Please, I'm sorry. Can we move forward? Can we move on? Like, I'll pay for everything. I just need my card back. I want my friends back. Like, I want to eat like a normal person. Please? Please?